I like to call Jesse Lee Peterson the most important man in America because every day, where he's the one who was really on this first about black hostility to white people and how black people just really are not into white people. This is not something white people think about. We're always thinking at this own little spark of racism that exists inside of us while we completely ignore this tsunami of racial violence, whether it's black on white, black on young, black on old, black on gay, black on straight, black on Eskimo, black on Asian, black on kitties, puppies, turtles, or goldfish. We see it every day. So today I got 3 examples of it. One is a city councilman down in Georgia. 2, this is probably isn't fair since you could do this all day long with MSNBC. Michael Smerconish talks to one of the top editors at the Washington Post about how white people suck and how they need a lot of training to stop sucking all the time.
Political fireworks at a city council meeting, with one person even calling for the mayor pro tem's resignation.
The furor is over a Facebook post that some have deemed racist. The message was posted by Carrollton council member and mayor pro tem Gerald Byrd.
Well, Fox 5's George Franco was in that meeting and joins us live with Byrd's response to all the criticism. George?
Well, Russ and Sine, Mayor Pro Tem Gerald Byrd told me this isn't about him. He says that he hopes his controversial Facebook post will lead to some kind of public forum on the ills of society, especially the black community here in Carrollton, which was just fine with a lot of folks. They just don't like the way he went about it.
Cops were called on me for celebrating my mother's birthday at my house.
Carrollton Mayor Pro Tem Gerald Byrd spoke of prejudices he's experienced. It was part of his response to pushback from a Facebook post showing a Native American against a black man with the caption, "The genocide of one race, the enslavement of another," followed by Byrd's response, "White man has and is destroying the world." It's a statement which many people in Carrollton have been talking about and saw as racist, including Barry Harwell.
I do think that racism will never really end as long as we're entitled to offer up our personal opinions.
I'm quoting you, "White man has and is destroying the world." Is that a racist comment?
I don't think that's a racist comment at all. You know, when I think about my position here at City Hall, every day it seems I'm dealing with some sort of issue of racial discrimination or racial prejudice.
Byrd operates a nonprofit, the downtown-based Institute of Imagination, which a Carrollton businessman is asking others to boycott with him.
Hey, Karen, we came at this from slightly different angles, but humor me for a moment on my issue. What do you think about Starbucks closing only the U.S. locations?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that you bring up. Starbucks is an international brand, and one thing that is also international is anti-blackness and is racial bias. So it'd be very interesting to figure out, you know, does this happen in its locations in Europe, in airports? But for me, again, I agree with you in the sense that is whether or not this is a PR move. Look, an afternoon of racial bias training, and we don't even know exactly what is going to be entailed in that training, is not going to solve the issue. What I argued in my piece for the Washington Post was that this is an American problem. So when you have white folks, non-black people of color that are so quick to call the police on black people in a particular space, knowing what we know about what can happen to black people after encounters with police, whether it be arrests, detentions, or injury, or even death, I think is what we really need to be talking about. So who's going to train not only, you know, the Starbucks employees, but who's going to train teachers, refraining from calling the police on black kids in schools? Who's going to train the mom and pop stores, real estate developers, landlords? I mean, really and honestly, I think America needs about 100 years worth of racial bias training.
In your piece, you ask, I should say, white America, where can we be free? Where can we be safe? Where can we be black?
Yeah, and that's a throwback to the pop singer Solange, who tweeted that perhaps 2 years ago after the footage of police brutality. I mean, that's really the fundamental question. I think for some reason the Starbucks incident has really sort of shaken me up and has shaken up a lot of my friends. I think Starbucks has sort of branded itself even as a place where you can just go and sit and chill. I mean, I've gone to Starbucks and have not bought anything and waited for friends or waited for meetings and had nothing happen to me. But I think it's this issue of where we can just be Black and not have the cops called on us, not be kicked out of spaces. And it just really kind of has this eerie throwback to even a sort of segregation era feeling of we just don't belong and the police can be called on us for any moment. Remember, these guys were only there for 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's the stunning part.
You know? Yeah.
I had a caller to my radio program say something provocative. I asked the question, is implicit bias uniquely American? And a caller said to me, what's uniquely American is the combination of implicit bias and a gun culture, which adds another dynamic to all of this. You get the final word. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a culture and a history where the fear of Black skin is as American as pie or baseball. And I think, for us to be able to deal with this, the Starbucks incident is just another long line of incidents where, again, force can be used to basically as a form of social control. This is a form of social control of Black people in public spaces. And really, until we have this national, not only conversation, but active steps to really treat Black people as first-class citizens, I'm not sure that just one day of training is really going to help anything.
But then, well, I always like to balance these accusations of white racism, white hostility, with some real-world examples of what's really going on out there. Like this just happened yesterday on the subway. A fella pushing a stroller threatened to kill some of his fellow riders.
Because he's my son and I could do that.
Look at this terrifying video of a father menacing another father with a knife after cursing him out for telling him not to strike his own child. It happened on a crowded E-train near Canal Street on June 24th in the afternoon of the Gay Pride Parade. This man named Robson, who doesn't want his identity shown until the man in red is arrested, saw him scream at his son in a stroller and then hit him at least once on the arm. That's when Robson said he had to step in.
When he made eye contact, he asked me why you are looking at me. I say it's not right what you did to your son. Then so mind your own business. I said, but you just hit your son on the arm. Why you did that? And it was so loud that everybody was looking at him, and that's why he got mad, because everybody was looking at him.
Robson was in the subway car with his wife and 4-year-old daughter. He told Pix 11 the man in red brandishing the knife told his daughter, quote, "This is the day your daddy will die,"
I will kill you on this train.
as he held the door open at the West 4th Street subway station, growing increasingly agitated and hostile, even spitting at the man before fleeing.
Now let's go visit this young lady. She's a writer. She wrote a book called Why I Don't Talk to White People About Race, or something like that. It's just part of the spectrum, right? So we got elected officials, we got talk show hosts, we got newspaper editors, we got big shot writers. This woman sells a lot of books. So don't just sit here and say none of these people matter. They matter. What they say matters. What happens as a result of what they say matters.
My name is Rennie Edo-Lodge. I'm a journalist, and I am the author of the new book, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. About 3.5 years ago now, I wrote a post on my blog called Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. I wrote it at a point of extreme frustration and despair, frankly, after a few years of attempting to try and talk to white people about race and just really getting nowhere.
She picked a bad time to quit talking about white people, because I wanted her to explain how 5 black people can go kill with their bare hands a 62-year-old dude down in the South, and all they get for it is a couple years of home detention. Could you explain that to me, somebody?
4 teens who confessed to their roles in the brutal beating and death of an elderly man will get no prison time.
Tonight, the anger and disbelief at the judgment handed down today in a Louisville courtroom.
He was at an age where he should be enjoying life.
A 62-year-old Louisville dad.
He was everything to us, everything.
Taken from his family in the most vicious of ways last summer.
There was nothing he could do about it. He couldn't run. He couldn't put his hand up to protect himself.
Lonnie Bard was disabled when a group of teens savagely beat and robbed him near 22nd and Stone Alley.
They took a pack of cigarettes, his cell phone, and a few dollars that they couldn't split between them.
Police say they snapped his neck and left him in the street. Paramedics got him to the hospital, but he wouldn't make it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Monday in court, plea deals for Brian Litton, Yasin Abdul Qadir, Joseph Foster, and Tyrone Cheatham. The prosecutor saying he couldn't get a conviction against everyone in the group for murder and robbery. It reduces those charges to facilitation to murder and robbery against the teens and comes with 5-year sentences.
The defendant agrees to cooperate fully with the Commonwealth in preparation for trial as to Tavion Miley and to provide truthful information and testimony in any proceeding or trial preparation related to the prosecution of Tavion Miley.
They get diversion and home incarceration for testifying against Tavion Miley, who prosecutors believe was the most responsible for Bard's death. Once the teens testify, they can have their felonies dismissed. Abdul Qadir took an Alford plea, which means he admits there's enough evidence to convict him, but maintains his innocence. The deals were clearly not what Bard's family wanted.
And you wonder why our community is in the disarray that it's in. It's because there is no justice within the courts.
But these four wouldn't leave this courtroom without getting an earful. Daughter Lonnie saying she owes it to the man she was named after.
There's no amount of time that you could possibly get for this crime as you sit there and smirk and smile. My father was there for us. Not one day did we spend without him. He taught us right from wrong. He taught us to respect others. He wasn't given that respect.
There is one more teen involved here, Markel Rice. He's getting the same deal, but will be sentenced at a later date. He's already in juvenile prison for another case in Adair County.
Good morning, Taylor. You're right. The police still have this area blocked off. You can see I'm here at 29th and Topping. Down this direction toward 30th is on the other side of this crime scene tape. You can see the one squad car still down there at the end of the block. Now, this is the area where officers shot and killed the man that they say shot 3 of their officers yesterday. You can see it's a pretty residential area. We know that there were plenty of people home when this shooting took place. We spoke to a couple people who told us that they heard gunshots. They saw the SWAT team in the neighborhood, and that one woman even said she called her daughter, who lives across the street from her here in this area, and told her to lock her door and stay inside. And then just a few blocks from here, there was a church letting out after its service at about the same time that this shooting had was in the midst.
I was sitting right here on the sidewalks at the time when the members were leaving, and I heard a barrage of gunshots over the area where it came from. It was about a couple blocks away, and probably 30 or 40 shots or more. And so we knew that something was really going down then, and so people were more encouraged to leave the campus by then.
I mean, we do these stories all the time. How black on white hostility is now mainstream. I guess a lot of people just look at it and say, hey, it's not happening. White people do it too, or white people deserve it. But they always say that, but they never come back with us pointing to something that happened in a similar circumstance. A city councilman, talk show host, a Washington Post editor, a best-selling author. They never come back with the, counter examples. They always just come back with imaginary examples, with speculations, with mind reading, because they know if they do that, they defend this ridiculous level of black criminality, black dysfunction that we see every day. Well, we know that's not going to make the black kids angry.